Hey guys, we've been talking a lot about LA in 8.1 and there's been another further new build of the PTR. This build, we're going to go through the changes right now. This is an update as of the 3rd of October. This is a new build on PTR. They've done a few things with abilities, scaling some spell damage, and also moving some talents around. And those talent moves are actually a pretty big deal for the builds that we can do and how we're going to be able to weave abilities together and how they're going to synergize and all that shit. So let's go through the changes, guys. I'm on MMO. I'm just going to kind of quickly go through on here what they've done because some of it is a little bit not 100% clear. First, Earthquake, increasing the spell scaling from 147% to 169. What does that mean in terms of damage? It's not 100% clear if that's that much more damage or if it's just the spell power scaling is increasing by that much. But in other words, more damage from Earthquake. And then, guys, we go into Aftershock. Aftershock just has a small tooltip change, no big deal. But the big change is about Call the Thunder, swapping places with Master of the Elements from that 30 tier to the 60 tier. Now, this is a very big change because this will change, you saw my burst video, my recap of what the changes are. Now, when they're moving these talents around, what it means is there's going to be different potential builds that we can do. Kind of change the play style on Call the Thunder and when you're going to take that, when you're not, versus Aftershock, because you're going to have to now make that choice, or versus Totem Mastery. Now, there's going to have to be some decision making there on what you want to choose and what you don't want to choose for what situation. So we'll go through that when we hop into the PTR, but that's the biggest one. Chain Lightning damage is getting scaled up just by a little bit of spell power percentage from 30 to 34%. Earthquake, we already talked about that. For Flame Shock is going up by a very large amount of spell power scaling, and maybe this is being offset here by this Elemental Shaman overall change, but basically this is 157% to 210 spell power percentage, which is actually kind of crazy. What they're also doing is they're increasing the duration. The duration is going from 18 seconds to 24 seconds. What does that mean? That's a huge change. People should be very excited. With a 6-second cooldown, a lot of people have been upset since Legion. Now we have a 6-second cooldown, but it lasts for way longer. That's actually crazy. That's really, really good news for us. We're going to be spending less time putting up those Flame Shock globals in PvP, and in PvE, we're going to potentially get more of them up, increasing our Lava Burst production. We're going to be able to Lava Burst, get those procs more often, get those cranking, but also remember, Flame Shock actually, as a dot, does a lot of damage, so this is a pretty cool change that is might be flying under the radar with some of these talent swaps. Guys, the Lightning Lasso change is actually pretty awesome. It's pretty shocking, to be honest. In live servers, Lightning Lasso, because you'll read it on the patch notes on MMO, it won't make any sense. If you look in-game, Lightning Lasso is doing 13k damage over 6 seconds. Not that impressive. Now, if we look at the PTR has it 48% of the target's maximum health in nature damage. I don't quite understand. That seems to be a huge, huge, huge number, and it's actually just ridiculous. It's not. It didn't work on the target dummy because it's a raid boss, but that actually seems outrageous. But it seems like a huge buff to Lasso. Now, for Master of the Elements, like I mentioned, is changing spots with Call the Thunder, which is a very big deal because it probably makes it so you're actually going to choose this talent. Because otherwise you probably, I don't think you necessarily would have. But we'll get into that. And then specifically Surge of Power. Surge of Power, they're changing the way the Flame Shock version works. Again, after you Earthshock, the next spell you do is going to have a special effect or something special is going to happen. And they've changed it in an interesting way. Now instead, after you Earthshock, when you Flame Shock, you will Flame Shock. And also, so basically it says the next cast also applies Flame Shock to another target, so one other target within 8 yards. Meaning, if 2 people are stacked on each other, you Earthshock, you Flame Shock, you just Flame Shock 2 targets, which is a big deal. Now lasting longer and spreading like that is actually pretty great. Now, does this mean we're gonna spam Earthshocks to get these out? Probably not, but it's a more efficient way, in a way that we don't have to say Earthshock, Flame Shock this target, Flame Shock that target. It's more about Earthshock, get the Flame Shocks up in a more broad way, and then we keep rolling. And then in terms of healing surge for Elemental and Resto, it seems like they want us to actually use this ability. They're increasing the spell power scaling, meaning it's going to increase the healing and decreasing the mana cost. Yeah, I'm not really sure what this changes. So again, guys, if you understand what this is or you saw this in different posts and it's already been understood, then please share in the comments below. I'll make sure to pin that one. Guys, that's the change for Elemental Shaman that's coming. And then the latest build, now guys, again, this is not final. This is still going through the PTR iterations. It's going to probably happen again. So make sure to check back and make sure you're looking at the latest video that I'm putting out related to this. I'll make sure the descriptions are all cleaned up in each and every every one of them as new developments are coming out, so make sure to check back. The other big change I want to make mention of, and not Sid, shout out to you for sharing this with me. This is a little bit across the board related. There was a post tonight from Lore about Azurite traits. Now, there's a lot of stuff. I'll put this in the comments below, and let me know in the comments. Do you want me to make a video about the Azurite trait system, what I think, and the new changes that are coming? Because they've basically made some huge kind of call outs on what they're going to be working on in the immediate on this, and in terms of the long term, what they're going to be changing, because they definitely have heard everybody's complaints about the other Azurite system. I personally have been using an eye level 300 helmet up until yesterday. So let me know in the comments below if you want me to do a video on all of the information about the Azurite system. Happy to do that. But otherwise, let's get back to the PTR. Let's get back into Ele. So back into the PTR, guys, the big changes we already mentioned having to do with the scaling of damage. They did not touch Stormkeeper, guys. We're not going to use it on here because that's in my other video. Shows the amount of damage it can do. I'm not going to talk about it here, okay? This is a safe place. I already heard what you guys said. We're not going to get it nerfed. All right, next, this is the change to the talent tree. Aftershock's still here, but Call of Thunder has replaced Master of the Elements, okay? This isn't going to change the amount of damage that we do. What it's going to change is the playstyle and the selection of talents in each row. For Mythic Pluses, for example, this is now going to become a very, very, very viable option. You can now take this, which casting a Lava Burst increases the damage of your next nature, and they added physical or frost spells by 20%, meaning you can take this and Aftershock and start weaving the Earthquake in with Lava Burst, in with another Earthquake, etc. This row in general, Aftershock is going to help your spamming of the Earthquakes, and even Call the Thunder could do that. So, I mean, this row kind of synergizes now. These first two rows synergize pretty well with Master of the Elements. You know, Echo of Elements might be the selection, pretty much maybe the only selection, because if you need the Lava Bursts and then you use Master of the Elements to weave those in, every time you Lava Burst increases damage, and then you're going to be using other spells, and those other spells are going to make use of this row. Totem Mastery, I thought this might be a very good PvE selection because of the Storm Totem, which increases the chance of lightning and chain lightning to trigger an elemental overload by 5%. But to be honest, now that they've added these two in here, I'm not really sure. Let me know in the comments what you guys think in terms of build now for PvE and PvP. For PvP, it's actually very interesting. Now I think this row is actually hard to make that decision on what you're gonna go. I haven't deep dove into, I haven't gotten my tinfoil hat on yet to go into the depths, but I've been really liking Aftershock. There's a lot of people that really like Totem Mastery, and now Call the Thunder's here, increasing your maximum Maelstrom. There's a lot of stuff going on here, and so it's a lot to think about, guys. But definitely, it looks like they don't want us to have a huge Maelstrom cap and Aftershock. I think that was one of the motivators here, because I did show on stream how I did 5 Earthshocks. I don't think they want that, because Earthshock is already doing good damage without even stacking Lava Shock. So there's some options here to synergize with Earthquakes, Master of the Elements, and there's actually one other change I did not mention. It has to do with a new Azurite trait that is coming out. I forgot about this. There's a new Azurite traits that are coming out. They're trying to adjust some traits in general and add some new ones. This is a new one. It's called Tectonic Thunder. Earthquake deals 100 damage instantly and has a 25% chance to make your next chain lightning be an instant cast. That's pretty exciting, especially because that could synergize with Aftershock if you get some procs, and then that procs the chain lightnings, and you have some rhythm there going on. It definitely feels like Ele's going to be a little bit more RNG with some of these. You could go total gambler build using those Earthquakes and Aftershock together. All that kind of working together kind of would make, I think, a fun play style. Maybe not one that's 100% reliable, but that's what makes it fun. For PvP, what do I think about this? I actually think that Earthquake could have a place in some Mongo cleaves. If I'm an Elemental Shaman and I'm going up against Turbo, and they all come in under me with 3 people, I should be able to Earthquake under my feet, and it should do good damage, and it should disrupt them. Like, that's how I think Elemental Shaman can get around some of their mobility stuff. Like, we should be able to punch back a little bit, especially because it's physical damage. It can counter rogues. They can't cloak physical damage. So that's actually something that I think this could be potentially useful in those situations, especially because it's doing damage immediately. But, you know, This trait specifically, I don't know if it would be great in PvP at all, but I'm just saying I think Earthquake and the scaling of damage and the synergizing with Earthquake and Master of the Elements, like that might have a place in PvP. And that might be a great use of Master of the Elements. Now, if you ask me, oh my word, did you see that? That was the new animation from Holy Paladins. Let me know if you guys want to see me do something on that as well. There's some really sick animations. Anyway, for PvP, what am I thinking about going? I've been asked this question a lot and bursting a lot. There's been some theory crafting in the comment section. Thanks, guys, for all that engagement. What do I think I'm going to go? I'm probably going to be going something along the... I'm very tough to decide between Aftershock and Call the Thunder. For this tier, when Call the Thunder here was a no-brainer. Call the Thunder, you need Maelstrom generation from Fire Elemental, and then you get more Maelstrom. Hello? Like, that's a no-brainer. This row now is still kind of a no-brainer for Master of the Elements, which forces you to weave spells with Lava Burst, which I think is a cool thing. It might be strange because there might be a skill cap now to that rotation, at least in PvP, but I think it's very, very cool. And that's an opportunity to help you guys out, and by showing some examples of that, which we'll be doing in the future. But for this tier, and I mean, let's just back it up. Earthen Rage, Echo, or Elemental Blast for PvP, probably going to be Echo because I'm going to be going Master of the Elements all the time. For this tier, I don't know which one. I don't know which one. Flame Shock, if that's going to be doing more damage, if it's going to be lasting longer, it makes Totem Mastery that much better. But at the same time, Call of Thunder is going to make my max Maelstrom, my maximum burst spam Earthshocks unbelievably high. And then we have the RNG of Aftershock. I cannot tell you, I've gotten a lot of kills by getting refunded Maelstrom above 100 and double shocking people. There's some value there. This tier, again, has its place. These two really for PvP. Like we already said, Master Elements. Nature's Guardians, what I've been going here, but I've been thinking about Ancestral Guidance. Let me know in the comments if you guys have found a use for this. Let me know what you think in the comments. But otherwise, this row, Surge of Power, is going to be your option if you are going for an offensive build. If you're going defensive, if you're against RMP and you're just trying to live as an Ellie boy, Primal Elemental is probably going to be the go, because what you want to do is you want to be able to use that Earth Elemental defensive ability. Now I'm going to have my macro video done soon. You'll be able to see the macros for that. Last tier with the buff to Stormkeeper, that's absolutely going to be what you want. And it just does a ridiculous amount of damage. These talents are probably what I'm going to be going with this switching out. But Elemental Attunement is still super good. It's still super good, especially for storing up those Earth Shocks. For traits, still thinking at the moment that we would be going Lava Shock stacking, because that still does a lot of damage for the first one. But we might be weaving in some other things depending on, you know, what can we do with these Lightning Bolt chain lanes? You got to think about it a little bit more. Even if it's something like Battlefield Focus, you know, that is something that people haven't been looking at, but could proc on my Flame Shocks. And now my Flame Shocks last longer. There's a higher chance for this to proc. So just thinking about things like that. But right now, the dedicated Lava Shock for that burst potential in those burst windows is pretty critical. And using that alongside your, you know, getting a huge Earth Shock and then going into your Stormkeeper burst, hello, that is nasty. So guys, with that being said, this was just a very quick update walking through the changes. As of October 3rd, guys, this is going to change more and more and more. We're going to keep bringing out content for you guys to see that. Without anything else, let me know in the comments what you like, and we'll see you on stream. I'm streaming Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursday, Friday, Sunday, guys, pretty much like all the time. Otherwise, at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, that's New York time, and we'll see you guys there. Check the links below, and we will see you in the next video, guys. Take care.